Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We're going to call our Board of Public Works and Safety for the City of Scottsburg to order. Today is August the 8th of 2022. We begin with our roll call by our Clerk Treasurer Jan Hardy.
Mayor Amick.
Here.
Karen Gracious. Here. Tom Lewis.
Here.
Thank you. Next, the first thing on our agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from July 25th, 2022. Do you have any typos or changes in these minutes that you've seen?
I make a motion to pass the minutes as presented.
Karen Gracious makes the motion to pass the minutes as presented.
Second.
Tom Lewis seconds. Is there any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on our new business is we have approval of the drainage plans for Scooters Coffee and Edward Jones. Let's look at the Scooters Coffee first. I don't think there's much there. Scooters Coffee has amended what they were doing. If you've had, did you have any questions on this? Basically, I wanted to make sure we had no interruption of the alley there. Those are active alleys. And I wanted to make sure that the water, but one thing they do, they're directing all water toward the NDOT drain on Highway 56. So if you look at the train will have a swell in it going east, so the person on the east side is not going to get any water. Same on the west. They're directing all of that water with their dozers toward the basically southwest corner of the property. Right there is a storm drain for NDOT. That storm drain will go down, will eventually end up in Lake Iola. That's there. But what they will need is an NDOT permit to do that. So I guess we would be asking then for a motion to pass the Scooters Coffee, provided they do apply and receive an NDOT permit.
Make that motion.
Tom Lewis makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Karen Chris, second. Council, do you have any other suggestions, anything? Are you okay with all this?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
From
Yeah,
my,
all in favor, say
from
aye.
my lens.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. What'd you say?
From my lens,
Yeah, from your lens, yeah. That's what, you know, I spoke with the city's engineer on this, and that's what they suggested as well. The next one we have is the drainage approval for Edward Jones. Edward Jones is being represented tonight by Justin Stevens. And Justin, would you like to say anything to this board?
The same question that you guys have. I'm actually going to be the owner of the building.
Okay.
So I will be the landlord for Edward Jones. They'll be renting from me.
Have you been before the historical review board already?
Yes, that was approved early last month.
Okay, so this will have a historic look to it?
Yeah.
Okay,
The brick will be matching close to the look of the library.
okay, okay,
And it'll be all brick. The entire building will be brick.
okay. I noticed, I spoke with the engineer on this one as well. And as a matter of fact, I walked over there. Even though I've been over there, you know, sometimes you can see something and you don't see it. And he said, the engineer says, well, there is about a 4-inch drain, a white Schedule 40 drain coming around the movie theater building and then going down along the side of that movie building and then dumping on you. And so I called John. So John said, yes, that's what that is. It's taking the water, I think, from the top of the marquee there and then putting it over there. So Judah, are you going to leave it there, John, or what are you going to do with that?
I don't have any plans of doing anything with that.
Maybe she's just going to leave it and dump over there on it?
I don't have any plans of doing anything with that.
Okay. So, it looks like to me that in his plan, it looks like he is leaving a 4-foot gap between your building and his building.
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen the plans, I haven't seen anything. We were only, in fact, the only notification that we've received for anything has been to be to go to a meeting on August 15th. So I haven't seen plans, so it's hard, besides the call we had today, it's hard to even have any form of conversation because this is the first time I'm seeing anything.
Okay.
I will say, John, I did inform him of this a few weeks ago and let him know there'd be about a 4-foot gap between the buildings via phone call. So he was aware that there would be a gap between the buildings.
Yeah, I'll admit, yes, I do, I am aware of that.
Okay.
If I'm allowed to ask questions in this meeting,
Counselor?
It's your meeting.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
so what I'm concerned about is that Justin hasn't been through appeals yet.
Has
To
it
my
been
knowledge,
what
have you
now?
been through zoning appeals at this stage?
I'm going to the area planning commission.
Yeah, so right now, I'm assuming that is zone B2, just like the other lots. One of the requirements is broke up as 2 parcels, unless you fix that. Have you fixed that?
I will be.
But you have not to date.
No, the deed has not processed yet, so I have not been able to ask for the combination of the 2 properties.
So
But that will be done.
So currently, it's set up as 2 parcels, as we are sitting today. The maximum coverage you can have per parcel is 70% of the land. And just a quick glance on that, the parcel on the east side is covered more than 70% between building and parking lot. So it'll have to go through zoning appeals to get that approved first. And that's just our rules and our ordinances. I'm not bringing up anything new.
Say that again.
So, per our ordinance for building, you're only allowed to cover 70% of the surface area of a lot with non-penetratable surfaces. So when you do the 70%, you consider your buildings, your parking lots, anything that water can't go through.
Right.
And looking at his plan, I believe on the east side partial, because that's 2 partials, that he's covering more than 70% of that.
I mean, most buildings in the square cover more than 70%.
But if in today's stage, he doesn't have continuing existing barriers because he's not been continuing existing.
So this is a new,
Since this is a new construction, he'll have to go through and follow all the guidance, as well as the minimum setbacks from the road.
Counselor, is this correct?
Yeah, he's going through that process. The only thing before this board is the drain.
Yeah.
Board of Works has no control over
Right.
grading the variance
Right.
or any of that. The only issue for this board to decide today is the drainage. The landowner still has the other process that will be ongoing.
Is there a plan for drainage? Justin?
Is that what this is? This drainage plan?
Yeah, there's some provided by Renaissance.
So it's either draining.
I mean, the main,
Street here.
it's looked like the main,
the sidewalk,
I think it's only
versus
drain.
draining Like that line. Is there enough fall for that to drain that whole distance? Is it going down to, is there an alley back here?
The only drain that I saw over there, and Justin, correct me if I'm correct, and that's at the northwest corner of the property. There's a drain in the street there. As far as I saw, there were no other drains, there were no other drains going south, is that correct?
On my property, there is a drain, and the back door to the theater is definitely lower than the elevation there. It already takes water.
So,
And one other concern I have is the previous buildings that were there had basements. There was a basement in one of those 2 buildings. I don't know which one it is. But in none of the plans have I seen, or Justin hasn't communicated to me what he's going to do with that basement. It's going to be removed or just going to be left there. Sandy just backfilled it. So there's a large concrete structure someplace on that that can potentially be holding water.
You mean the basement walls are still there? But it's
That's
still.
my understanding,
Okay.
is that Sandy just pushed the building into the hole. she tore down the building, she just let all the road fill the basement, and then just smoothed it off on the surface.
Is that in the front of the lot or the back, or do you know?
It is the back of the western lot.
Back of what, I'm sorry?
The western lot, it was about 10 feet by 10 feet according to Sandy. So the back of the western lot,
The western lot would be the one closest to the theater.
closest to Main Street.
So you're-
So the lot is split long ways?
Yeah, it is. That was Avco and Dr. Mann's office.
There were two buildings there,
Okay.
Avco and Dr. Mann. Oh, well, Dr. Coates, when the fire
Sorry.
happened.
You're taking both lots now?
Correct.
Is it gonna be one lot?
It will be one lot.
It will end up being.
And it will be less than 70% coverage. I know that's not what this board deals with, but it will be.
Yeah, if it's both lots together, it looks to be less than 70%.
I mean, it's a little over half.
Well, I guess this is not really indicating, obviously, the front sidewalk's just going to the street, which would go to the manhole, you're saying? Where does the water that's going back end up going? Is there a manhole back there that goes to it? What, is this an alley back here? What is this?
Back,
This is the street.
back here, right behind here, there is a lot, and I'm assuming, Justin, your lot stops at where you've got your blacktop
No,
parking?
no, it has a 97-foot depth.
Okay, so basically your lot ends here and then there's another lot. So your lot's ending here, then you have another lot back here. That's not yours.
It's not, it's all the same lot, but it goes back further than that parking lot, yeah.
Right.
It goes back here to the 97 feet.
But basically,
It's about another 25 feet after the parking lot.
that you own.
Correct.
Then there was another lot that used to be a shoe shop there. Then that abutted then into the Zolman Insurance.
Yeah, it does not go back as far as John's lot. Correct.
So basically,
It's owned by Oddfellows.
so that lot now is owned by Oddfellows, okay.
It's a very, very small lot. I think it's 12 feet deep.
Yeah, it's not very. So how much green area do you have between you and Oddfellows building?
About 25 feet and then 45 feet in width.
Okay.
And then wrapping around the parking lot, there'll be another 36 feet by, let's see, what would that be? 36 feet by 25 feet, that will also be greenery. So it'll be an L shaped on the greenery of the lot.
Okay.
So, tell me again, Terry, what is back here?
Back here, going back here, there's a, if you go down there, there's a, after you pass his lot, there's a small lot there. And when some of us were growing up, that was a shoe store that Roy Miranda had for shoe repair. And then after that, you had Mr. Zolman, who had an insurance company there, and that's now the Oddfellows. It used to be insurance, but I think it's all Oddfellows today. So they apparently bought that extra lot where the shoe company was at.
So this is not, I mean, this grassy area is gonna allow seepage of water. It's not gonna all drain back to the next lot.
Right, right.
So this will drain down to here, because this is gonna be concrete.
When are you beginning this?
When?
Yeah, when is your construction plan trying to begin?
I have a couple more hoops to get through before I can say a date on that.
So basically,
Ideally, it would be within the next 2 months.
okay. So, I know the engineer had some questions on this when I talked to him a while ago. So,
I mean, obviously, originally this building was all the way back here, right? The two buildings that run, how far back did they?
Jan worked there.
Yeah, I did. They didn't go back. There was that, like you said, the shoe shop. There was grass back there behind it.
Yeah, but see, what I'm thinking is, this just not building, its building's only 36 feet. So, I mean, my building was 75 feet, and then it was added on to all of that. So, so I think this is Justin's lot, and then I think that shoe lot was here, and I think that insurance building's more over here.
Yeah, they went back almost to the back of what I own, not quite, but pretty close.
So there was less green space before than there will be now.
Oh, there's gonna be a whole lot more green space down there than was.
You know, 'cause it's,
And you're taking a lot of that rock out and just putting dirt in it, aren't you?
I'm gonna take the top layer of the rock out and that area and put dirt down.
So,
My way of looking at it, you've got a lot more drainable area than you had before.
right,
So,
I mean, he'd be about to be doubling it, I would. He's got a 36 building, mine was 75.
yeah.
So, you know, and that's gonna be catching the water of his roof, I would think it'll be coming off there. So, is that enough area to catch that water?
Well, it should be, if it did before. I mean, what they had before, you more than double the area.
Did your dentist building go all the way back to the edge of the movie theater?
no, it went back to where Roy's shoe store was.
Or was it that at the edge of the movie theater? The southern part of the movie theater? I was thinking you were even with that. I thought all those buildings were like the same. And maybe I'm wrong. You worked there?
I only worked there 18 years. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I just showed up. I didn't look at the lay of the land or anything. I just got the paycheck. No, I don't recall that. I
Just doing some quick math. The building and the blacktop will cover 2,020 feet, and the green space is gonna be almost 2,200 square feet.
Yeah.
2,020 feet of improvements.
2020.
And how many greens?
He's not using that.
Almost
If it
23.
drained well before,
25,
it's got
almost
drained
2,200.
well now.
Yeah.
If I may, though, it doesn't drain now. We take water in the theater right now, and we take water in the building of the Christian Terry Amick. So, you know, if you're gonna build your argument on that, it's not a moot point. I can show you pictures of the theater with 2 or 3 inches of water in it from just last week.
So where's all that water coming from now?
And we spent $10,000 to get the sidewalls waterproofed and add leach lines on Sandy Owens' lot. And we're still taking water inside the theater.
Does the theater have a basement?
It goes subgrade probably about 2 or 3 feet, not much.
That's where you're taking water at.
No, actually, I'm taking water probably about a third of the way back up from the building.
So how?
So if you're coming off of Wardell, about a third of the way back is where the water's penetrating. And we have whiteboard there, we have drain tile there. I don't know how it's coming in.
It's spring under your building?
There's a spring underneath all Scott County, from what I understand.
So,
So, is your floor lower than the grade, the sidewalk?
Where it's coming in isn't, but there is a low spot. When you go, so the theater is angled down, it goes below grade, I would probably say about 8 feet.
Yeah.
Not much, but it does go under grade.
So what are we supposed to do?
basically, this is for a drainage permit, so I think if you are comfortable, you can pass it. If you're not comfortable, we want to look at it again. He's not gonna start for 2 months. I think we can look at it and come back
What
again
I'm
next
looking
week.
at here, it's gonna be a better situation than it is currently. with all this green space.
I know that he had a lot of rock there, and after those buildings were resting, he's taking the rock up and putting soil in there, removing the rock. And of course, maybe the rock would help drain.
Well, and the rock underneath the soil, and once it gets through the soil, it gets to go through the rock.
Yeah. Better than a clay soil that we have, so maybe the rock would help it. So maybe just bring soil in.
Well, what I'm saying is, for previously with the building going further back, you had less green space
Yeah.
to collect water. Now you got a whole more.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be a better situation, whether it's adequate or not, I don't know.
And those buildings may not have been back that far, because you did have that little shoe store jam. And it may not have gone as far back as that theater. That theater head was pretty deep. My building kind of abutted straight, but maybe yours didn't. And I'm just kind of thinking that. But anyways,
What do you think, Karen?
Marty's got something.
well, yeah,
Well, I'm
It's
not
here.
familiar with that corner over there, other than what Sandy sold, you know, and behind that, I'm not.
There was another structure behind the shoe shop at one time, I was told.
Remember the shoe shop.
I remember the shoe shop, Roy Miranda, and
Yeah.
then Fred Junior bought.
And John Edrington is correct in that the whole rubble of what was the building was poured into that basement, because there were still some items that the museum would have liked to have had that were buried. But nonetheless, there was another structure behind the actual shoe shop, which may have made it look like it was longer, but the actual building was not as long as that first lot.
I have a picture pulled up of the building.
You do?
See it. Yeah, I mean, you can't tell exactly how far back it went, but it was a substantial size.
So, as you can see, that's kind of what I remember. I don't think it was as deep as what John's is.
I don't know, it definitely was not 97 feet deep
Yeah.
as far as the depth of the lot.
It's definitely deeper than this.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
to me, it's gonna be better with this than it was with that.
But do you know where the gutters from the original building diverted to? Did they go to the road? Did they go to grassy area? I mean, these are a lot of questions. I mean, you're making an assumption, and that's a great place for us to start. But how did they divert the water? Did they just run it off into that green space? Did they just send it over to the road? I mean, there's a lot of different ways. So, and Terry and I had a conversation earlier, my building, which was built in 1947, the marquee, the reason why I won't touch that is because it originally went down into the septic system, or the sewer system. Now, Terry won't let me do that today. I would assume a lot of the buildings from that time period diverted down into the sewer system, because it was an easy way to get rid of water. Now you're putting it out on the ground, it's a completely different scenario. I don't think we're in an apples to apples situation.
Understood.
Well, and Scottsburg really does not have a does not have a stormwater plan. That's one thing we are going to do. We are going to come up with a master plan for stormwater, and we're going to begin implementing that. So, that is imperative for our citizens and going forward here now. So,
So that master plan obviously could impact the theater and Justin in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not a drainage engineer, I'm a structural engineer.
right.
I'm just going by logic. You've got more green space than you did before. And whether that was adequate or whether this is adequate, I don't know whether they're adequate.
Well, then do we need,
But it's better than it was.
do you want to then, do you want to then table this till the next meeting?
I mean, do these
2 weeks away?
does this Renaissance Design Building Incorporated, do they speak to that?
I did not use them. I have an attorney that is ours, that the city's paying.
Well, this is the designer.
I know, and I want our attorney to look that over.
Attorney or engineer?
You need an
Yeah, I'm an
engineer.
engineer, I said attorney, sorry.
The drainage guy this is enough space to accommodate this building and this,
Yeah.
parking lot.
I mean, with the space that is there, I'm like you, I would think it would be an adequate amount.
I think Ravi looked over both of those, didn't he, Mayor?
He did.
Approved.
He looked over both of them. And, one of his concerns was because John has water that's pouring on this property, so we kind of need to know what, at least in my mind, is where the water goes. Because basically, he's dumping water on this property. So,
Well, that could be the source of the water that's getting into the theater. You're dumping it from a lot of area down in one spot. It could get in there. I'm
I
not
mean,
saying it
it's
is.
right up against the wall, so I mean, you know,
Yes.
and that's where it's leaking in at, so.
You know, there's a concrete pad underneath that spot.
Yeah, but water mitigates the lowest point.
Well, I'm not saying that, I'm saying if you're talking about hitting one spot, I don't disagree with your statement. And if I knew how to fix it, Tom, I'd go out there and fix it. I mean, it'd be as simple as that.
Totally, I understand. I'm just saying it could be the source, part of the source, not all of it, probably.
Run that line down, run it over that drain so it stops leaking in there.
What do you say?
I said, run it down to the ground and run that on over to that drain before you build, see if it stops leaking
Yeah.
inside your building.
We're gonna put some hydraulic cement on it next, on the inside is our next step.
Yeah.
We're waiting. They're coming to put another leach line into your building, once they put that other leach line in, because your old building is still taking water around the columns. So, water is something we fight on the square constantly. I mean, Karen, you've got buildings that are subgraded, and you know how much a pain in the butt it is. Every building I have on the square that has subgraded takes water someplace. The pink building we have is just diagonal, you know, the ground state, you can take a hand dig a handhole, and get water. To Terry's point, we really need some form of plan on how we can start getting some of this water out, instead of just letting it soak down in the ground.
I agree. And that's been one of the,
Just with respect, you know, that plan is not gonna be developed in the next 2 months, I'm assuming. I would ask that you guys go ahead and approve this, so it doesn't encumber, I've got several other hurdles to get over. I would ask you guys to go ahead and approve this. It's going to improve it. It's not gonna be detrimental to the lot, so that would be my request.
I didn't quite hear all you said, Justin. You want us to approve it?
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's going to be an improvement on what it is right now, or what it was before, certainly. I would ask you to go ahead and approve it, so it doesn't encumber the process. At this point.
Well, I'm willing to make a motion to approve it pending, an engineer certifying that this layout will properly drain.
okay. You okay with that?
Whose responsibility is that? Is that mine? Is that yours? Is it? I thought, did you not say that the engineer already took a look at it and said that it was okay?
Robbie, which is the city's engineer, that's what I said. When he told me about this, I went over and looked at it and came back. And so their engineer, I haven't heard from their engineer. They're the ones that drew up the plans. So they've got it going back on that area. And I'm like Tom, I would think that it would take it, but I would like to have confirmation, so I have no problem doing what you're saying, just approve it, and I'll contact engineering to make sure that they feel that they'll take all the water you're gonna give it to.
So you will make sure it's,
I'll call an engineer, I'll call,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm okay
I'll
with
call
that.
Renaissance Engineering, and I'll call their engineering as well.
Mayor, if I may, I think you should put the negligence onto Mr. Stevens and not onto yourself, because if your engineer makes an error, I'm gonna sue you, make me sue Mr. Stevens.
Well, that's fine, but my engineer, we represent the people, and we're gonna make sure that it's proper.
So,
So appreciate that. And, you know, and your engineer, which is Renaissance, that's gonna be Chris Long, and you can have him give us a call as well, just assuring us that that will take care of it. Okay, so I think with that said,
You get all that, Jan?
oh, it's just
gonna be kind of, which, the discussion was held. Beat the horse to death or something.
So my motion is, we approve this contingent upon an engineer certifying that this drainage plan is adequate to drain the building and the hard spaces without pushing water over onto the neighbor.
So there's enough green space there to absorb the water being collected by the roof. So
Okay, what, I know
So the-
earlier
so
you
Tom-
just said,
Tom was
yeah, certifying this layout would properly drain.
Yeah, I don't think certifying's the right word, it's, what was the second word I used?
I can go back and listen to the, you are recording, aren't you?
I'll second
that
it.
would absorb water.
Tom's
That would
recommendation.
verify that,
Verify, I like that better, yeah.
they can't really certify.
Right.
Can I ask how an engineer's gonna be able to tell us that it's gonna put less water on him than what is currently on him?
Actually, he didn't say less water, he said no water.
Well,
So
it's-
that's what the statement was.
How am I gonna guarantee that this guy doesn't take on any water?
It's not a guarantee.
He's already taking on water.
It's not guaranteed, it's a, what's the word I use? Verification that this plan is adequate to absorb the water that is coming off of your buildings. That's it, basically.
But
Which
it's
I
not
don't
to-
think there's a problem with that myself, but I'm not
It is not to guarantee Mr. Edgerton that he's not gonna take on water.
No,
That's
it's not,
that
it's
is-
not guaranteeing that. It's just saying that what you're providing here is adequate to absorb the water that's coming from your buildings.
Mr. Eddington doesn't know that he might have so much water coming off his own roof, that it may be going down into a clay tile that's already probably 70 years old right now and feeding back into his
I mean,
building. We have to bid it.
it's basically taking this as if it was standalone and saying this is adequate for drainage.
Okay. No concern about the property to the east.
You can't certify that at all. Either property to the east or west or north or south, I'm sure, and on the other sides, but. You second the motion?
I second with your recommendation.
Okay, Tom Lewis has made the motion to pass this as long as it has been
Verified.
verified by a drainage engineer. Okay. So, and Karen Rich has seconded that. So, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, guys. Okay, what else do we have on tonight's agenda? The next thing we have is a approval of an addendum to build, operate, transfer lease, which is part of the sewage works project. That was in your binder tonight on that BOT to amend that to the $4 million. And what this is basically, that's this grant, isn't it, Jim?
Yes, let me
Yeah,
explain
please
what this
explain-
is.
explain that, yeah.
We received, as you know, the $4 million SWIFT grant and used the wastewater treatment $15 million project as the match to enable us to get the grant. Upon review by IFA, which is the Indiana Finance Authority, we have spoken with the authorities there, and we have been advised, we, the city, has been advised that this would need to go through the process that we used for the sewer plant. So what will this basically do is this $4 million will go to Greg Marks, who took care of dispersing the funds from that. There was a provision in the build, operate, transfer, and that's what, this is just an addendum to add the $4 million to that. That way that is a, is a match. It's showing that since we haven't made payments yet or haven't done that, that would putting that 4 million in there to have to access again. So that is basically what we're asking for here, it's just so that process, it's out of the scope of work for the original wastewater treatment plant. And this would just include the 4 million. Awesome.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, so with that, we're actually gonna line 40,000 linear feet of 8-inch sewer line. So, and this is this 70, 80-year-old tile like what John's got. So we have a machine that can do all of this.
I'll make a motion, is it approval?
You know, it's,
To have the mayor sign it, to enter into the agreement.
And I'll second.
okay. Tom Lewis makes a motion to approve the addendum of the BOT on the sewage works project. Karen Grish is seconded. Any other questions about that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, it's unanimous, thank you very much. The next thing we have is approval of excess equipment at the wastewater plant to be scrapped and other items to be put out for sealed bids. Jeff, you want to talk about that?
Chase is on vacation, and the mayor has a list, or you have it in your packets, of some items. I believe the top 2 or 3, maybe,
Three.
three.
Looks like there's 3 things there.
He would like to put out for sealed bids. Josh would help us prepare that and advertise. And then the others are basically just trash. So he's wanting permission to scrap that.
I'll make that motion.
Tom Lewis makes a motion, Karen
I'll
Fish
second.
seconds, okay. What this is as well, we have a lot of, while they were old equipment, it's equipment, it's hard to find today. So there are some things that are sellable, so we have different people bidding on this right now, okay?
Okay.
So the things that are not of any use, we will take and get the scrap price out. So, any other questions?
No.
Okay, so Tom Lewis makes the motion, Karen Bush seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you very much. Okay. The next thing we have is the sewer adjustments, huh? And, well, let's go to sewer adjustments. Oh, morning.
They've already signed them.
I've already
Okay.
signed it.
Yeah.
Approved.
So the next thing we have is our clerk treasurer, Jan Hardy.
Yes, I would be open for a motion to approve the claims as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Second.
Karen Brishes makes the motion to approve the motion, claims, and Tom Lewis seconds. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, thank you very much. Okay, the next announcement is the alley beside the Old Hardy's Cafe on the square will be closed until August 16th for new roofing. So there's new roofing going in. So,
They're
That's good.
anything else there? Okay. Jan, anything else?
I have nothing.
Chief? Good. Council?
I'm good.
Okay,
That's good.
okay, so.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Karen Brishes makes the motion to adjourn, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.